All right, it's May 19th, and you're watching the NBA show!
Awesome.
Woo!
We've got a great show for you today. We've got two of the world's foremost experts on business school here today with us.
Chris Ryan is a graduate of Fuqua, and Carrie Shuchart is a graduate of Columbia.
And these two MBAs have written a book called Case Studies and Cocktails. It's available right now on Amazon, and it is the guide on what to do with your time in business school and how to do it right.
So I've read the book. It's a great book. It's available right now on Amazon.com if you want to buy a copy. And we have Chris Ryan and Carrie Shuchart with us today. Bway, could you pull up the satellite feed?
Oh, hey, Chris, can you hear us?
I can hear you and I can see you.
Excellent. And Carrie, can you hear us?
I can indeed.
All right, so we are familiar, so Miro and I are in business school right now, and we are familiar with course readers and course packs, and this whole book thing is completely new to us.
Carrie, what is a book?
You know, it's a big thing. Lots of pages, some printed words. This case, we're trying to be both educational and hopefully entertaining. Give
And
you
so
a little
who's
bit
the-
of insight.
And who's the target audience of Case Studies and Cocktails?
For us, it's people who've gotten into business school. So once you've already received that letter of acceptance, or if you're actually in school right now, because there's a lot of stuff that's useful throughout your 2 years.
And Chris,
Yeah, there are a lot of books about how to get in, but this is a book about how to get through business school.
Right.
And so, Chris, you actually, as part of putting this book together, you had a chance to go and talk to a lot of business school, a lot of business schools across the country. Who's the best business school?
Well, obviously, Fuqua at Duke. We've got the basketball poster on the wall here. You can see Duke basketball.
No.
Carrie, who's the best business school?
Oh, it's definitely Columbia Business School.
Oh, see, we would have said MIT Sloan. So
Yes.
here you go.
Funny how that
That's
works.
fascinating. So and MBAs don't trust anyone that doesn't have an MBA, and luckily Chris and Carrie both have MBAs, so they're the epitome of trustworthiness.
And so, you had to talk to people across a lot of schools. And one of the big stereotypes of schools is that MBAs are rabid, money-hungry, unbelievably competitive Tom Rose types. Is that true? I know it's not true at our school. What about at the schools that you guys went to?
Definitely
I don't
not.
think
I
so.
think one. Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say that the dean at Duke, Rex Adams, former oil company executive, the way he put it is he wanted no jerks and no weenies. And I feel that's pretty true. There aren't as many jerks anyway, and as many weenies at business school as you think.
And is that really true across schools?
Definitely. I think you'll find pockets everywhere you go of people maybe who don't have the best intentions, but by and large, people fall in love with their schools and their communities. And, they're there for the networking, which means you got to be a halfway decent person. So, I think you'll find that people really do come out and they want to help their colleagues, and people are friends. That's the big part of this whole thing.
And speaking of love, one of the things that you have in your book is you have a section on relationships, which is something that people, is a very big topic in MBAs. So, how is sex in the MBA different from sex outside the MBA?
Much more public. When you're having sex at business school, you are having sex as if on a platform in the middle of a park.
So like normal then for Miro.
Pretty much.
Right, except it's actually with a human.
Oh. And so, and how do I was about to say, how do I avoid this? And I'm not sure which thing I'm avoiding here, but I'll send the question out anyways.
There's really no way to avoid it. I mean, unless you've divorced yourself from your MBA community, which hopefully you haven't, everyone's going to know your business, right? I mean, you're with these people 10, 12, 14 hours a day. They're looking over your computer screen. I mean, you're going to be found out. So whether you're having sex with your study group member or your professor, which happens, it's out there. You can't really avoid it. So just kind of be wise, be tactful. I think those are kind of the best pieces of advice.
And suppose that you're already in a relationship and that's something that you want to preserve.
Yeah. So for instance, when I went to business school, I talked to a lot of different folks about going to business school, and I was very concerned. And my wife was very concerned as well. And I would sit down with people and have these conversations, and midway through the conversation, I would find out they had gotten divorced in business school. It actually happened to me like 3 different times. How do you is there a way to avoid it, or does business school just mean divorce? Carrie, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I think we were all familiar with the idea that MBA means married but available. Try to avoid that as much as you can. I think, it's sort of the standard operating procedure for most relationships is that communication is key, right? Tell your significant other where you're going to be, when you're going to be there. Keep some special time for the two of you. Be committed to that time and don't let business school interrupt. The other thing to do is be as transparent as possible. Bring your significant other in when he or she wants to be involved, whether it's to happy hour, special events, additional clubs. Really make them feel like they're part of your world, and that can help alleviate a lot of the stress, because so much around that is the unknown. And hey, I'm off studying with this amazingly gorgeous guy who I know is going to be a very wealthy iBanker someday. And
so
that
you should
could potentially be threatening.
Yes,
I don't know.
You can send
You
those
guys
emails
tell
to
me.
therealtomrose.com.
Hi, wealthy iBanker. Yeah, I mean, what you want to do is make sure that you keep to all the little promises that you make. So when you carve out those little bits of time, if you have to change plans, of course, things change in business school. Your team needs to meet at a different time, but really follow through on the little stuff, and that'll help the communication, and set up little channels of communication, such as just texting back and forth every so often. It doesn't have to be a big phone call. You can just send a, hey, what's up? Thinking of you.
Sharing a calendar is also something that we've heard a lot of students do with their significant other. That's quite helpful. Pull up one of those Google calendars. That way they know where you are, and you can kind of communicate through that as well.
I think Google Calendar saves relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
So why don't we move on to our jargon segment?
Yep.
And we know that you've brought a word in for us.
So what is the jargon that you've brought for us today, guys? Chris, I believe you had it was leveraged or leverage.
Leverage, indeed. Leverage is one of those words that you can use in a technical sense, or you can use it in a much broader sense. In the technical sense, it means how much debt you're carrying versus your whole position. So if you have $1 million house, but it was paid for $900,000 of it is paid for with debt, then you're highly leveraged. Now, the way people actually use this in conversation in business school is, I'm going to leverage my teammate to help me with my Excel spreadsheet. So that's the kind of thing that you would say, I'm going to take advantage of. So leverage means really take advantage of something, as opposed to I am going to, I have leverage over someone. That's very negative. That's the jerk in the weenie kind of thing. We don't want that. It's leverage. I'm going to take advantage of it.
So it's almost like you can say leverage for anything. Like, oh, I'm leveraging this Coca-Cola. I'm leveraging Miro right now. This show is highly leveraged.
Yeah, it's a good thing you can't see my hands because I'm leveraging myself.
And we also have another segment on the show we call Business School Tip of the Week. And so, Carrie, if you had one tip that you could give to MBAs, what would it be?
It would be open to possibilities. One thing for me was I walked into career services and I said, I don't want to be a consultant. I don't want to be an iBanker. They promptly said, come back when you decide which one you want to be. 3.5 years later, having not really gotten a job when I graduated, I'm finding myself a consultant, which is why I'm doing this interview from my hotel room. So I'd say be open to possibilities. You never know where you're going to land.
So the options are not just consulting and iBanking. It's consulting, iBanking, and other. Be open to possibilities.
Exactly.
Or consulting for an iBank, or doing iBanking with a consulting firm.
So there's all kinds of great tips in your book here. We've talked about relationships. What else can people get from your book, guys?
You can learn to color code your spreadsheets. Hey, you think that's a small item? It is not. When you look back at your spreadsheet, and you've come up with a color code that you understand, you're going to be so excited. Let me tell you, this is the kind of thing that fulfills your destiny.
I am adamant about the color coding of my spreadsheet, and Tom will make edits, and he won't do the colors, and I completely flip out when that
Your
happens.
only color codes is Excel spreadsheets in pastels. All right, so Mira, what's on your radar for this weekend?
So I just want to say, so you guys, you should check out the website, casestudiesandcocktails.com. You guys write a fabulous blog. You got a bunch of tips on there and a free first chapter. The book is available on Amazon. And for my weekend this weekend, we are actually, some good friends of mine are coming into town. Haven't seen them in ages. So it's going to be a weekend of many brunches. Tom, what about you?
I'll be sailing in the Caribbean in a flotilla of 18 yachts. It'll be a heck of an entourage. It's going to be a good trip.
Carrie, what about you? What's on your radar this weekend?
I'm honoring the American holiday of Memorial Day by going to Canada.
Escape.
Thanks, Trey.
And what about you? What about you, Chris?
I am flying to Phoenix, Arizona, to see my nephew graduate from high school.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome.
Very exciting.
Well, I'm the real Tom Rose.
I'm Miro Kaz.
I'm Carrie Shuchart.
And I'm Chris Ryan.
And you've been watching the NBA Show.